Hello and welcome to Still Spirit. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're joined by Himmel from the Lakes Distillery in England. This is one of my personal favourite whiskies out of all the English distilleries. Now, there is a great range that are award-winning, and we're going to be trying out some of those whiskies today. Now, Himmel, thanks very much for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Thank you for coming up. Now, before we get into the tasting, let's talk about the origins of the distillery. So tell me, how did the Lakes begin? Let's go back to the start.
Of course, yeah. So Paul Curry, our co-founder, used to go on holiday in the Lake District, as many do. The Lake District has always held a very special place in Paul Curry's heart. So along with Nigel Mills, with their wisdom and their experience and expertise, they found an amazing site near Keswick in the Lake District, which is in the northwest, which used to be a disused dairy farm.
Beautiful part of the country.
Beautiful, absolutely stunning. And water, again, is very important. Lake District is one of the wettest places in England, if not the UK. And the site is actually placed right in front of River Derwent, which is our water source. So it is a national park and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the distillery where it's located. And the microclimate that you get within our region is very similar to that of Islay, which is a world-renowned, very highly respected whiskey-producing region. And that is why it was selected, so that we would have the terroir required to create our whiskey, the water I mentioned earlier, and the experience and the expertise of our whiskey-making team.
Of course, it's so crucial, isn't it? The water, the topography of the area, so the team as well. That's what really, you can have all those raw ingredients, but you need the team and the experience as well, don't you?
Absolutely.
Together.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've briefly mentioned the team there in terms of, they're very much part of what makes the whiskey so special. As well, we featured Whiskey Makers Reserve number 7. Now, there's a very distinct kind of maturation process that kind of goes on there. Is that right? Now, tell me a little bit more about that. If you could elaborate for us.
Of course, yes. The Lakes Distillery were the pioneers to use a maturation process called élevage, which has been inspired from the cognac and the winemaking industries, where we assess the spirit in the wood actively. So the whole process where we actively are involved in the maturation process, we assess up to 1,000 barrels and we guide the flavor within the spirit through the use of different casks. So that in a nutshell is what élevage is, but I'm definite I'll talk a little bit more about it when we sample our amazing whiskeys.
Do you know what? I don't even know if I can spell élevage, let alone know what it's about, but I'm sure that when we get to the fun part and we do the drams, you'll be able to kind of talk me through it, and you can explain the influence on the whiskey, right?
Let's do it.
Okay.
We have our first dram right here. This is a very special one, and I'll talk a little bit more about it when we sample it. But this one is called the Lakes Single Malt Signature. After years and years of innovation, because this whiskey has been 10 years in the making. So we started distilling in 2014, and in 2025, March this year, is when the Lake Single Malt Signature was released.
So tell me, then, there's a lot of sherry going on here, right?
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about élevage. The journey of the Lakes whiskey starts off in a bourbon barrel, where we put in the new make into fresh bourbon casks. We assess it at 9 months, and then we assess it at 3 years and 1 day, because that's how long you need to mature a whiskey in a barrel in England for a minimum of 3 years and 1 day. So as soon as that time frame has passed, we again, remember, we have been assessing the spirit at 9 months and at 3 years. Our whiskey maker then categorizes the flavor profile that the new make spirit has taken on from the barrels, which is now single malt whiskey. And then we start the élevage process of maturation. So élevage is a French word, which basically means elevate. So we are actively elevating the flavor within our spirit through the use of different casks. This is an evolution from the whiskey maker's reserve range. So as soon as it's single malt whiskey, the journey of maturation started in red wine casks, which were made up of American and European oak. Then it was taken into PX and Oloroso, brought back into red wine. And for the first time in the Lakes single malt whiskey journey, we've actually married this particular liquid in inactive Oloroso sherry casks for a minimum of 6 weeks, which is something that our whiskey maker, Sarah Burgess, brought to the table.
Well-renowned whiskey maker.
Very well renowned. Her signature is on this beautiful bottle as well.
Hence the signature.
Hence the signature.
Well, I'm going to élevage this to my nose and just see what sort of notes we're getting from there. So tell me, what can you expect from this whiskey?
Candied fruits. There's loads of like citrus as well. I guess subtle dates, raisins. It's got a little bit of woodiness as well. It's an unpeated whiskey. We are an unpeated whiskey distillery, but you do get that toastiness coming through from the wood as well. On the nose, I think it comes across as beautifully like a sherry cask forward with underlying tones of the fruit that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It's 47% ABV. It's natural color, non-chill filtered. And let's get it. Slide. The fruit really
pulls through, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can really get that. There's like bright plums in there. There's some cherries, it's just...
And a very good long finish. And there is a layer of spice because you'll find with the lakes, spice is a big part. And by spice, I mean wood spice. So think of like cinnamon, a little bit of clove here and there. It has a beautiful lengthy finish. It's still on my palate. It's been a few seconds. For a core range, I have been so excited that we launched this particular whiskey this year. I want to finish it, but I'm not going to.
Now, do you know what? This is definitely a whiskey to be proud of, and I can understand why Sarah's put her signature on this. So this signature, it's an evolution from the Whiskey Makers Reserve, is that correct?
Yeah.
Development of that?
Absolutely. The Whiskey Makers Reserve range was always going to be our house style. So we had 2 categories of whiskies. We have the Whiskey Makers Reserve range, which is right here in the pink, beautiful purple box. And then we had the Whiskey Makers Edition, a very good thing that you have a very good wide range of our Lake single malts at Still Spirit. So we will be sampling through some of them.
And these are all available just now? Is this available all the time?
So the only product that will be available forever is the Lake single malt signature. Every other bottle that you have here is a batch product. When it's gone, never to be repeated again. And they all taste exceptionally amazing and unique in their own particular way. Because of the élevage process, they all have a different flavor profile, which we can go through shortly.
Excellent. So I'm keen just to see how the signature bridges into the Whiskey Makers.
Absolutely.
So Himmel, we've been through the signature journey. Now we're going to carry this journey on to this one we've got here. Now, tell me, how does it differ? Tell me more about house style at the Lakes.
Of course, yeah. So signature is our permanent house style, which evolved from the Whiskey Makers Reserve range. So Whiskey Makers Reserve number 7, the one that we're going to be sampling now, is the last in the Whiskey Makers Reserve series. So there will no longer be number 8.
That's it. So no continuation.
There's no continuation.
No encore. No Whiskey Maker. None at all.
When it's gone, like all of the Whiskey Makers Reserve series that we've had before. So it's a similar, if not the same cask makeup as signature, as I mentioned earlier. So it started off its journey in bourbon casks, but then it went to PX Oloroso and red wine. In my personal opinion, I think the red wine and the PX influence on the Reserve number 7 is beautiful. And again, the whole philosophy of the Whiskey Makers Reserve range was for our whiskey makers to understand how the local terroir was going to have an effect on the maturation. In addition to that, how is the élevage process of maturation that we use going to have an influence, and how can we create and use all of these techniques, production methods, maturation methods, and assemblage, which is blending methods, to create a permanent flagship house style, which was signature. So after number 7, signature was launched, but I'm so glad that you still have some stock of number 7 left, because we get to sample it.
Yes, I'm glad as well. Let's try this, actually.
Fantastic.
I mean, it is all about the journey. And the casks, the Oloroso casks, sherry casks, where are these sourced from?
So we source the finest sherry casks and wine casks available from the market. All of our sherry casks come from the Spanish region of Jerez, and then which is known to be the sherry triangle commonly, but sherry is made all across Spain. But we have an amazing cask cooperage and a cask seasoner, but he's fantastic. And what we do is we are actively involved, not just in the maturation side, we are actively involved in sourcing our casks as well. One example would be we go down to the level of the acidity of the sherry wine that the cask is going to get seasoned with. So that was the 10 years of us learning and understanding how different casks are going to have an influence. So number 7 is what we're going to be sampling now.
Okay. And again, what should we be taking from the nose there? What is it?
I feel like number 7 is a bolder version of the house style. The incense stick that I get on this particular one with loads of like raisins, sultanas. There's a little bit of orange peel as well on the nose for me. But again, quite
burnt orange, you know, and
absolutely
pulls out from there.
I mean, I don't want to be like too out there, but one tasting note that I came up with was, imagine a candied orange peel dipped in dark chocolate, and then you open it. That's literally what I get from this particular whiskey. Let's taste it.
Excellent.
$52% ABV, but it doesn't come across like that.
Yeah, that's right.
It is heavier, it's richer, but again, the mouth filling, when you take it in, it just lingers.
It's a whiskey that stays, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It's there and nestle.
I would say signature number 7 are all year round whiskeys. I feel like they give you a drinking experience that can be enjoyed throughout the year, especially this time of the year as well, as sadly summer is coming to an end. But good news for loads of people who, and like me, love an aged spirit as the months get colder.
Yes, but I can certainly appreciate this in the autumnal months as well, or any month. Any month really, but particularly prefer it because of the higher ABV that a lot of people might not be used to. But I do feel like this drinks very easily. So if you like a bold red wine, a rich red wine, or if you like certain sherries, Shiraz, Barossa Valley from Australia, anything rich, this is something that you would highly appreciate because the red wine influence in this particular whiskey is quite predominant for me. There's a load of like plums and raisins and dates that you usually get from like a bold, and there's spice, the beautiful underlying spice. Carries that fruit along, doesn't it?
It does. And just lingers on the back. I can still taste it. I don't know if you can tell, but this is definitely one of my favorites.
Definitely one of the favorites. Yeah. I think it could easily become one of my favorites as well. It's gorgeous. That is absolutely amazing. It's definitely one I'm going to come back to again later for sure. But let's look forward. What's next on the agenda?
So far, we've tried our house style, sherry forward and wood forward house styles, Lakes Malt. However, because of our élevage process, there's so much diversity and so much creativity we can bring to our maturation, where we have a fantastic range of limited one-off series. So the one next we are going to be trying is actually a spring summer dram for me, despite the fact that it's 56% ABV.
Okay, so we're moving on to Iris. This is 56% ABV. Now that doesn't naturally say spring summer drink to me. Like, tell me why. Why does it feel like a spring summer drink to you?
So before I mention more about it, I think the best way to do it is to experience it. Because if there's a 56% ABV and I make a bold statement like that, I think the liquid needs to speak for itself.
Yes, you need backup, exactly.
I do indeed.
I need to, just taste this as you're kind of talking me through as well.
So Iris was produced to basically encapsulate the spring summer, because there was loads of inspiration that our whiskey maker had from different places from across the world. So you'll find that historically through the whiskey maker's editions ranges, there were different inspirations. So with Iris, it was to create something that would be like bold, 56%, but yet be beautifully delicate and balanced, where you could enjoy it in the spring summer months. So the way I drink it, Iris is I hold it in my palate and I take it in. And what I find is that the flavor ends at the end of your palate. Because usually, as we may have experienced from the first two whiskeys, they're quite warming. Which is why I mentioned, like, yes, they're a little bit warming, can be enjoyed all year round, but I like it in the colder months. However, with Iris, I enjoy it in spring, summer. Why don't you have a wee taste?
Okay.
And then let's see how we go.
My first thoughts are there's some grassy notes there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad I'm not a major hay fever sufferer, that's for sure. But there's some kind of grassy, there's almost like a kind of, maybe it's because you're talking about spring, summer. I'm thinking of, the roaming fields and the kind of the grassy, sweet smell of barleys and
orchard fruits as well.
Yes, your orchard fruits, yeah.
In the distance, there's some orchard trees.
Exactly, and I'm having a picnic, and obviously I've got a ball of Iris next to me.
What I find is there's loads of like beautiful flavors, orchard fruits, delicate spice on the front. But as soon as I take it in, I don't feel a warming feeling at all, despite the fact that it's 56%. Historically, what I come across is any other whiskey that I try at 56, there's then a definite warming feeling.
Yeah, and a punch, like straight punch up front, isn't there? Where you don't get that with this one.
No. This does not taste like 56%, and it doesn't have that feeling, which is why it was captured and bottled for spring, summer. It was actually launched just before the start of spring.
Well, I definitely think it's something ideal for spring and summer, but I could equally enjoy this.
Oh, absolutely.
Into like the kind of colder months as well.
Yeah. Very versatile. That's what you might find with the lakes. They're very versatile. They all give you an amazing drinking experience. But if you're in the mood for something, and if you don't want anything heavy, rich, sherried, this is the diversity we can create. Because the new make spirit for all of these whiskeys is the same. So we use the casks as imagine a painter using different colors to add colors to the painting. That's exactly every single bottle and every single release from the lakes. It's a painting where our whiskey makers have used different casks as colors to create that final picture. And they all tell a different story.
So obviously there's more than just the three colors that we can discuss. So, there's a whole rainbow's worth of whiskies out there. So let's try some more colors.
Absolutely. The next one we're going to try is Equinox, which is our solstice whiskey. And that's what the picture represents as well. You'll see a fox and a hare trying to chase each other with an owl and a little eagle. It's a beautiful bottle, and the whiskey is even better.
Okay, let's try it again. Okay, so this next one is Equinox. You've kind of mentioned the label. It's a very striking label, but looks can only go so far with me. There's got to be something else behind it.
So with Equinox, we're now going from spring, summer to autumn, winter. So this one was inspired by the changing season to autumn, where during the maturation process, alongside our bourbon casks, our sherry cask, Oloroso sherry to be specific, we added a beautiful layer of Calvados season cask, which were made up of French oak. So the beautiful tannins you get from this, alongside some orange blossom flavor profile, it's stunning for autumn, winter. So especially, sadly, now again, that summer is coming to an end, I do feel that the tannins in this particular one, they can be a bit of a challenge for people who are not used to tannins in whiskey. Strong tannins because of the French oak, the beautiful, lovely balance of the orchard fruit, with the floral, the floral influences, along with a little bit of tannin. It just goes such a long way. Autumn Winter Dram is the next one.
Autumn Winter Dram. And again, I can feel like that transition from the kind of the lighter kind of apple notes from the spring, summer one we mentioned before to more baked apples. So you kind of feel, it's like a baked apple crumble sort of thing. I know.
Absolutely.
It does feel like it shifts in season.
It does indeed. And one way that one of our whiskey maker recommends having this one is with ice cream.
Oh, excellent.
Like a vanilla ice cream alongside this one. And it's a beautiful pairing. And she also recommends it with some baked apple tarts. So if you have any apples that you will be harvesting over the next few weeks, make a tart and enjoy Equinox with it.
The next time we'll talk to production team and get some ice cream with us as well. So
yes, absolutely. Just a note made.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, I get loads of like, the spice is still there, but it's a lot less prominent. I think the florality and the baked apple notes, and within florality, I get a lot of orange blossom because there's still subtle layers of orange, but it's more on the floral side. And the tannins, they coat the palate, not too overpowering, but just enough to help take the whiskey further.
Another great finish. I've noticed that with all the whiskies, it's not just a whiskey that's just fleeting. It's there kind of to stay and sell and kind of give you that broad spectrum of taste.
46.6%, again, natural color, non-filtered.
So is this the end of the journey for us, or?
No, I saved the dessert for last because the next whiskey that we're going to be sampling is a little bit on the sweeter side. Don't worry, there's no added sugar. Okay. We never add sugar.
No ice cream with this one?
No ice cream with this one. However, there will be certain pairings I would recommend. The next one is called Nostalgia. So think of being a kid and be let loose in a candy shop. That's exactly the inspiration for Nostalgia.
You mentioned this is more like the dessert, which is my favorite course in the meal. Probably like a lot of people, it's their favorite course. Is this going to be my new favorite whiskey?
That's potentially. Do you like candied fruit, or do you like candies from a sweet shop?
Yes. Like any adult, like any kid. Not like kids are drinking whiskey, of course.
No, adults only.
Responsible.
So this particular whiskey is Nostalgia. So being a kid, let loose in a candy shop because of the influence of the bourbon and the Oloroso. The bourbon is a lot more prominent. So on the nose, I get like think of like a corn candy. You know, those candies that look like the shape of corn. That's kind of what I get, alongside some orchard fruit as well coming through. But then the beautiful cinnamon spice. You know, those candies that have that cinnamon spice in Jelly Bellies, but they are like, you know, the cinnamon kind. That's kind of what I get from this one. It's light. It's very different on the nose, I find, to all of the other whiskeys that we've had. Even though there's like Oloroso in there, the bourbon takes the front runner influence in this one for me.
It does hit with the dessert levels, doesn't it? There's like some butterscotches in there. Yes. There is like the sugar cotton candy type thing. Maybe I'm getting too nostalgic and thinking about my childhood and just thinking of everything I used to try. But yeah, that's so the influence on the cask is Oloroso again?
Oloroso, but predominantly bourbon.
With the bourbon, yeah.
And similarly, if we look at our other two whiskeys that we have available as still spirit, Reflections was very autumnal. So I don't know if you know Simon Rogan, the celebrated Michelin star chef. He owns a restaurant called Longloom in the Lake District. He was celebrating 20 years of being a chef. So he wanted to collaborate with a local distillery to produce a whiskey. So it's an exclusive to him. So this is an exclusive with them. And there's very few select retailers in the UK who have access to this stock. Still Spirit being one of them.
Who got some somehow.
Yes, because you save the good stuff in store. So people should come visit. So very few limited bottles left. And then the epitome of the Lakes Single Malt Whiskey Makers Editions is Galaxia. This was our first whiskey maker, Dhaval Gandhi's last product. It was launched in 2023. It's the combination and the best parts of all of the Whiskey Makers Editions and the Whiskey Makers Reserve series bottled together. Very few bottles were made, and look at that beautiful color. The labeling is beautiful as well. It comes in a different purple box, but the whiskey inside, it's 54%, hands down, one of my favorite drams to be enjoyed on Christmas Day.
Christmas Day.
Rich, decadent, the opulence that comes through from the dram, it's stunning.
And these are all the limited releases. Are they sort of annual releases? How does the series come about?
So usually, historically, as we're 10 years young, the whiskey makers assess the barrels. So we assess up to 1,000 barrels every 3 to 6 months. And then on that journey, we find certain parcels of whiskeys that are doing quite well. So this year in 2025, we've only launched one product, which was the Lakes Single Malt Signature. And the last release we had was a Nostalgia. And just before that, we had Galaxia. It's all released around what's happening at the distillery. So when Dhaval left, he had a bottle that he produced. Sarah produced Nostalgia. That was one of her first whiskey makers editions, and it's the last one in the range. So it all depends around what we are experimenting with and what's ready, and then we bottle it and produce it. So we don't have any annual releases as such, but it's based around what we are working on in our warehouse.
So you're keeping us on our toes, just waiting to spring into action and surprise us with another limited release.
But isn't that fun?
It is. It's the fun part. You just don't know where it's coming from, so it can pick up your day.
Absolutely.
There's a new Lakes release on the way.
Yeah.
Hemel, thank you once again for coming along and presenting this fantastic range of whiskies.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
You're welcome. Now, I personally enjoyed all of these here as well. If you do get a chance, highly recommend trying the Signature. If you're lucky enough to find some of the limited releases, please do so. The Whiskey Makers Reserves. And if you have tried some of them, please do let us know in the comments which one is your favorite Lakes.